Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to X's for Show, your premium media response show, where tonight we're going to be talking all about Drag Race Global All-Stars, Snatch Game of Love. As for me, I'm Nico Action. You guys can check me out, Nicoation.
I'm TK, and you can find me at TK Elemental.
And that makes me Tori Sheehan. You can find me at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
Hey everyone, it's Peak Jonah. You can find me places at Peak Jonah.
And that makes me your producer, Kevo. You can find me at Kevo Really. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we know what things you want us to cover in the future. We're having a drag-tastic week, though. We covered the final tour stop on All Stars 9 Drag Race Live earlier this week. And now here we are to cover another Snatch Game of Love this summer. Great.
Yeah. You know, Snatch Game of Love, what a thing. It's sort of like making the world's worst rainbow cookie or making a terrible black and white. It's like an ice cream milkshake. You got to eat off the floor. It's something that I want, but I just don't want it the way I have to take it. And so it's really frustrating at times. You know, I think Snatch Game itself is hit or miss. They can't all look quite as amazing as Tori does over there. I mean,
Who, she?
But
tell me about it.
The trade-off here is that Snatch Game of Love is just, you know, it's one Rodney Akala away from being a true disaster.
Here's what I will say. I cannot remember one where I've had this much fun and laughed this much in recent history. I can't remember at all, but I think some of that is maybe I'm just forgetting an older one. But I really can't think of one that I enjoyed this much. Because of the girls, primarily. And it reminded me of a thing, because I think I have, in the past, blamed the girls a little too much when it doesn't go well. And a big reminder that I had here is if the Snatchler sucks, it can also be a real stumbling block. These two guys were not great as Snatchlers, and so it was even more impressive that the girls were so good and so funny for the most part. I love them as judges, but they, for me, just were not it for Snatchlers.
They were Hernando and what's his name from Sense8, basically.
I wish they were that.
You know, yeah.
And to that end, though, like this Snatchler Nation, let me talk to Tori. Tori, I have to ask you.
Okay.
As someone whom this is your first live Snatchination, I believe.
Yes, my last live. Well, no, we did the All Stars 9 Snatch.
Okay, you had made it in for that one in time.
Of Love for live, and then we also had to deal with the one we're not talking about, the Snatch Game musical.
Oh, no. Snatch Game the musical did terrible things to my psychology, and I'm still looking to recover.
Yeah, we're gonna pack that away for therapy in 20 years. But no, I loved this. I think this was one of the best episodes that we've had all season. I think this was a really successful Snatch Game, because even if there were a couple who were not doing great, at least they weren't full on crazy disasters.
I love that perspective. And speaking of full on crazy disasters, JoJo. You are from Staten Island, so I get to make the joke. I'm from Jersey. What do I have to stand on? Other landfill. It's fine. So, JoJo, my question for you, veteran up there with TK, you have been in the Snatchler army for so long. How do you feel about this week's episode? Were you quite as positive as TK and Tori, or were you a little bit more reserved, like maybe yours truly, who had a good time but has some notes?
I think I'm a little more closer to in the middle of all three of you guys, where I had a really good time. I think most people really kind of knocked it out of the park. There were some really, really funny moments throughout the entirety of it, and sometimes Snatch Game can just get really awkward. Nobody was horrendously bad, which in my book is a win. Which, I mean, when the bar's in the ground, that's, you know, they met that part at least. I will say my two major complaints about this episode stem from the way that this episode was edited, where a lot of the editors were like, Pythia should have won. and she did phenomenal and was my pick to win, but the edit of the show isn't matching the story the producers are trying to make. So we're having this disconnect where everything just feels weird. And at this point, I can't even blame the producers. I have to blame the editors because they're the ones in charge of the final product. It's just really weird that they're not following the storylines that production's trying to set up for them.
And maybe if the girls were more interesting. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm obviously kidding.
And then my second complaint is this episode, the rampant casual xenophobia was loud and proud, and it was really weird and uncomfortable how much RuPaul encouraged a lot of these queens who are not American to make fools of their nations to cater to an American audience and break them down to stereotypes. It is very weird. It was very uncomfortable. I do not know why in the year of our Lord and Savior, Megan Thee Stallion 2024, that this is still allowed.
And I think what's crazy is this was the most Xeno I'd seen this summer outside of the Republican National Party or Romulus. So like, it just really felt like it was an overabundance packed into a small space. Because some of it is like I'm here to do a Paul Lynde impression for all of you. Like, I'm ready. I got to be honest, I'm not in much of a position tonally to do any kind of play on my Latino heritage, but got to be honest, I'm out there going, Opa! In an instant. So, like, I get it. But, like, I do think there was something about the way Kween Kong, as a person with the right to make the jokes, made them in a way where I felt like laughing made me not cool. And so as much as I thought it was a masterwork performance and masterful, it was hard to explain.
Besides tacos, which I can understand was maybe over the line. I did laugh. I did think it was funny, but I can understand why that was over the line. What else did she say that was bad?
It's the idea of a black person dressing as a gorilla to make white people laugh that kind of makes me not feel great.
I get that. I did wonder about that for a second. I guess I just thought the Kween Kong versus King Kong branding was so on point. And I don't know. I was shocked she didn't win.
But I do want to say maybe a little too on point. Gottmik doing Lassie for All Stars 9 was already a very wild swing in a lot of ways that we thought was very interesting, but at least Lassie was not the kind of thing that you would like. I don't connect Gottmik with Lassie necessarily, but like Kween Kong, obviously a King Kong connection. So it maybe even then almost feels a little bit like a little daring, but at the same time, sort of obvious.
Yeah, to me, this kind of felt like she was like planning her merch and was like, let me get in front of this and actually make my own King Kong, Kween Kong, King Schlong merch.
Yeah.
Now, there's one our team has to talk about, and we're going to get back to, I just need to, TK, obviously, you realize why I said this episode had to wait for you. It could not possibly happen without you. There was a panini pressing matter that needed to be dealt with.
Well, I actually thought it was because of Pythia.
Oh no! I mean, yes, I am absolutely, and don't look up my alt Reddit, but I am absolutely that Greek dude. So like 1,000%.
Well, that's why. I mean, it's just like because I really love Greek mythology. I don't know. I like
Same.
the first time. The first time she like in the performance, like it was like the second or third line that she had. I was like, that's literally just Nico. Like it was. She said something. It wasn't even Opa. It was before Opa. She said something, and I was like, that's just Nico with the wig on. Like there was just so much that I was just like, she was my follow-up winner. I get why Kitty Scott Claus won, and no way it's not a shade thing. It was just what I was expecting. I thought so many people were good.
I don't get it. I don't. She should have won. This was.
I did. I had some questions about the performance, but I felt the energy and I did laugh a bunch. I thought she was fantastic. But yeah, I did think you were talking about Pythia. I was stoked about Lorene. I just felt so bad for poor Vanity because she just didn't quite have it.
But I don't think she did that terrible.
She did not do terrible. She did not do terrible.
She should have done this more.
She just it was like if she had just ironed this out for like 5 more days ahead of time and just had something else, I think she could have been top tier. But yeah, she was just missing a little something. But I was so stoked that there was a real Eurovision reference that wasn't like Eurovision or anything. It's like literally one of the most recognizable stars. It was funny to me because King Schlong got up and did a dance, and if Vanity had known that she could have gotten up and done Lorraine's Euphoria dance, not the Panini Press dance because that would have been too difficult, but the Euphoria dance she easily could have done because it's just kind of crab walking back and forth across the stage, and I think that might have really helped her a little bit.
She pulled it out for the lip sync.
She did.
I mean, clearly. So I do want to open the floor, but I could not sit here a minute longer because we hadn't had a chance to talk about Lorraine making an appearance yet. But so how did everybody sit with this crew? I did not think there was a bad performance here, with the exception of maybe, and I'm not trying to be mean, but like I did think Alyssa playing Alyssa is getting a few too many passes. It's why nobody puts Vince Vaughn in anything where he's not playing Vince Vaughn. I think what I'm saying is that Alyssa Edwards is the Vince Vaughn of drag.
What was that Gala movie? The Cube? The Box? He was in that.
What's in the box?
Oh, yeah.
The Cell?
Yeah.
The Cell.
Years ago.
Yeah. I love Tarsum.
Not anymore. No one does that now, so point stands.
I'm honestly quite glad that Alyssa did well with her Annie Oakley. I think I was worried if she didn't do that well, she was going to get read by the judges for picking something that people know her for and not going outside the box and blah 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 blah. But she did do the thing enough to be perfectly safe and perfectly fine. So that's nice for her.
It was in the words of our queen, Alyssa Edwards, all right.
It was all right.
I wasn't mind blown, but you can definitely tell Alyssa prepared, I feel, better for this Snatch game compared to the iconicness of season 5. Rue never. And then her Joan Crawford is absolutely hysterical, but it wasn't an impression of Joan Crawford. It was Alyssa Edwards doing Faye Dunaway doing Joan Crawford. And it truly was one of the funniest things in the world, but it wasn't funny for being a perfect Snatch game.
It's Vince Vaughn as Anthony Perkins. It's
Vaughn again.
But if I had a nickel for a season 5 queen returning to an All-Stars and on their Snatch Game of Love doing a character that they made up in a different challenge or previously did, I'd have 2 nickels in the same year. And that is bizarre.
That is very strange. It's not a lot, but it's very strange.
It's a weird year, guys.
I mean, but you got to think about the 2 queens who did it.
They're
true. Both such veterans and strategists, and they know what's gonna play. They know what they can do. I thought perfect that she went backstage after the critique, or before the critiques. She absolutely was safe. I will give her credit. She had a couple of really solid lines in there that were really good. She had a couple moments where it was like, it's too bad that you're not a little better, because a couple more lines and you would have been in the top. But yeah, this was it was a very smart performance. It was a very safe performance. And the thing about the 2 queens who did sometimes safe is you take all the best elements and you make sure you're good to go. And sometimes safe is you go wild and you just barely scrape by. And sometimes being in the bottom is you take all the things that you think are gonna make you do okay and you just flop. And poor Tessa and poor Gala. I think they really thought they had what they needed to get through this. I think Gala was not sure that she had what she needed to get through this, but she had her best concept in mind. She knew she wasn't doing well, and at the end of the day, she just did not do well. And that's a real bummer.
I do want to talk about, especially for our lovely divas and queens who are ESL, comedy is one of the hardest things that to translate across anything. It is what one culture and what one country finds funny isn't the same that works with us. To recount a very old interview we did with Zach Davidson talking about him translating Japanese, comedy, like in Japanese comedy, is nowhere near the same as English comedy. Like the puns and the things that work for in that language don't work for us, and especially trying to be funny and not your first language is a very difficult thing. So props to everybody for doing what they're able to do. But it felt interesting because Gala talked about, I guess Gala might have been in the bottom her season on Drag Race Mexico, but then it just feels interesting because it's okay. You know what the idea of Snatch Game is, like try to come in with things prepared. Even if I didn't personally know Gala's person, but I thought the look was right. The voice was probably right enough, but like nothing that she was saying felt like a joke. And that's where I think the preparation for beforehand, I think maybe if she had some, like whoever's on her team, like just kind of like practicing a little bit with her, I think that might have been missing.
And you know, it's one of the things where like I write script. So like I will write a line and I'm like, that's the line. I just wrote something that everybody's going to turn to me and they're going to say, Nico, that's going to be one of, like, every chord progression before it was a standard chord progression was an original song, right? And so every really good line before it becomes a trope was a really good line. And I'll write a line and I'll be like, that's the line. And I'll send it to Tori, Kevo, Jonah, TK. I write with all of them. And I send them the line and they'll be like, this sounds like it would be a good line if I could figure out how a human being would read it. And that is one of the things that sometimes creeps up on these girls where they think brilliantly. Like, I thought Nehelenia was hysterical.
Yes.
I can only imagine how much funnier she would have been if the production had given her the room to tell the full of her joke where she could get all of the beats out. Same thing with Vanity, although I guess for that, Vanity would have had to have had jokes. So
it's tough because two people that indicated they were challenged by the language were Nelania and Galavaro, and they were on the same team and they did differently. And I think, you know, I do see what Galavaro was doing, which was if you embody the character so much and the character is really over the top, particularly if it's a vixen, that's actually like a lot of the way there. But when it's like a jokes have to land moment to like get the effect, you will lose something and you'll have trouble. Incredible job by Nelania. I thought she was really the underdog of the day. You know, I was worried she didn't seem confident in the workroom, but holy shit, I thought this was so funny. The Michelle Visage joke. I mean, the Michelle Visage joke is a perfect example of, like, I kind of seemed like a similar setup to some of the jokes that Gala was doing, where I was like, okay, but then what's the punchline? And because it's just kind of this like rant that, like, you know, the English isn't perfect, like we don't quite know what she's gonna say, and then it's just like the Michelle Visage moment hits, and the joke is just so good. And you know, between that and some of the physical comedy, I was just like really blown away by what she did manage to pull off. And yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of like pulled together around the fact that the show does not make accommodations for English not being your first language. And it does really make you think, like, what would a mind like this be able to do if the show were being accommodating? But it doesn't make it any less impressive that they were able to pull off what they did.
Well, and I love your point, because your point highlights the fact that there is an internal and inherent bias toward the English speaking experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, to fan in the audience, Andrew's point, bag of chips had the Princess Diana look down better. You know, I think that's even like the result of white Anglo people knowing white Anglo people and doing white Anglo people. And so there's just like there's this growing, and by the way, hey Andrew, there's this growing sort of layered level of the ways in which there are advantages for people who aren't just English speaking, but have English speaking references. Because like a girl could probably get away with doing like Psy, like, you know, Gangnam Style, right? Like a girl could still pull that off, even though it's not exactly an English reference outside of sexy lady.
Yeah.
So like, I really hear your point, and I think your point goes so much deeper than just language. It goes cultural, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like the joke starts immediately, or the question starts immediately with Gala because she says who she's doing, and Rue doesn't know who it is, and she's cute about it, but Rue clearly knows who Diana is and is laughing immediately at the jokes because they're, you know, solid Diana references.
Well, and that's also something that I want to point out, that this was yet another instance of, oh, you should do this thing. I want to see you perform this for me. It wasn't really an organic process, and that, I think, is even part of where I didn't love this. It kind of felt to me very one note, and it felt like it was very one note because this wasn't necessarily her idea. It wasn't what she wanted to do first, but these girls are told by Rue, this is what I want to see. Well,
that is always a weird thing where it's like, is that the smartest thing because you're pleasing the person who's in charge? Like sometimes people are like, I heard Rue and I'm going to do what she said. And other times it's like, I have an idea, and just because RuPaul thinks differently, I guess it kind of is on a case-by-case basis. But I agree insofar as, like, this didn't necessarily feel... What's weird is her lines, her humor was funny. Like, she clearly had ideas and jokes and lines. But this thing, her face right now, this was one note, and I'm shocked that she won because, like... Diana had so many other moods, and like this was funny, like this as a mood, and like especially this as a mood when she's referencing Prince Charles, very funny. But like when she does the hug at the end, it's too late by that point, but when she does the gay man hug, like that's a different Diana. That's not sad face Diana. So like that joke was funny, but then she's still doing sad face, so it's like half note.
She's lucky that the Windsor brothers aren't the Gallagher brothers, because they would have Oasis beaten the shit out of her for this performance. This is the world's worst impression of Wonderwall. I even like her performance, but I think what I hate about this performance, genuinely, is this is an actual decision that the like British palace made to make Diana look like a sour, sad person. And this is actually like buying into cultural slander that was used to destroy a single human being for laughs. And that's where I'm kind of like, this is not the most flattering impression of a person. This is like literally the ugliest version of a person that was used by the media to psychologically hurt them. And like, it's from one interview.
That's one of those things that's so interesting about culture too, is that could be exactly where Kitty is getting this perception from, and that's not, we have such a different perception of the situation from where we were over here, from where she must have had with it, growing up with it her whole life, and it's so complicated where those two different forces meet, and you have to really put some thought into why and how it came about.
Speaking of forces, Pythia was amazing.
Yep.
I also, the amount of people that are like, why am I like attracted to Pythia as Zeus? Like, what? Because one, Pythia is very attractive out of drag.
Yes.
We've been new about this. But
this thigh, that's why.
That thigh, that slutty himbo thigh.
Those hairy legs. Good Greek boy.
So Pythia
What's up?
Made that outfit 20 minutes before she went on. She repurposed her Arnold Schwarzenegger suit for this. And truly everything that she did was just completely off the top of her dome, and that was so impressive. And she talked about that she was spiraling before she was there, and Alaska recently said Snatch Game is hard for a lot of different reasons, but one of them is you're sitting in a room and it's silent and it's cold and nobody's laughing at your thing, so you have no indication if you're actually doing good or not. So you're kind of just like,
has she never been on an audition?
Yeah, but an audition where you're sitting there for 2 hours trying to make this work. Oh my gosh, yeah, I guess I never really thought about the fact that there is no anything except for the crew, just the occasional.
Well,
Yeah.
I just if you've ever known someone named Dimitri or Alex or George, I have a number of cousins that are exactly this impression, which is why at one point during my dad's birthday dinner, of course, my dad being I don't talk about this on air. I don't like talking about this. I am the fourth Nicholas Vasillo in a row, and so
Not
Be
yet.
forward.
Fourth.
fourth, we have different middle names. My father is the third, and we had a big birthday dinner with grilling and stuff for my father. We grilled for my vegetarian father, and at one point during dinner, we all started screaming, "Hey, Opa!" And
Hey!
Jonah was there for dinner, so he's going to attest. But yeah, Jonah, thanks for coming to Dad's birthday dinner, as always. Jonah hasn't missed a parent dinner in a minute, so just want to say it was actually a very just absolutely like that was Pythia at home doing my big fat Greek life, like truly being a real person and portraying a part of culture that is, I think, maybe even not what Rue is looking for. This was too honest.
Word, I get that.
Well, I think Rue expected the mythology angle. And but what's really funny, what to me made this so good and maybe kind of made me think that it should win, is she had enough Greek mythology references that the character, like the background of Zeus is really funny, but then like the other half of the joke is that this is like a Greek dude that works at the, you know, your local bodega, and like the impression is just so like a modern Greek man, and fusing the two that's why I'm just like, sometimes people are so impressive, and like queens are so impressive, especially because I think that is the thing. It's when you have something that doesn't work and something else that doesn't work, sometimes if you fuse those two things, you really do create something that can work. And this just absolutely, because she could have done any Greek god and then just like given accurate answers and just done, you know, they could have even been funny jokes, but like the fact that this is so cultural and like it's her culture as well, I don't know, it's just, I thought she deserves so many props for this. And again, like the first person I thought about is the Greekest person I know, and I was just absolutely, it was so fun.
It's perhaps, you know, a little twee, but honestly, it is genuinely the spirit of what I want from Global All Stars.
Yeah,
I want
that's what it is.
Performance that illustrates your culture and what you are bringing to this competition as a global competitor, and that's what it really did it so well.
You guys may notice that my banner changed to now say the Greekest person TK knows, and that is it's actually accurate. It's the weirdest thing. My family doesn't own a diner. It's the strangest thing. But part of what I really did also love about this one was, I just need to say it. It's me, Valentina. No, sorry, Valentino.
Valentino.
Sorry,
Yes. So good.
Yes.
It's me, Valentino, was part of what makes a really good joke is the ability to cleverly layer elements. And like one of the things that I really enjoyed, not to be that guy, but Saturday was one of the best days of my life this year. Batman Day gave us the greatest crossover moments of all time. Shadow the Hedgehog as Batman in an official OVA. Thank you. Super cool. When you know how to make a joke work two ways at once perfectly, you've got it. When you pull fashion in and a reference to RuPaul's Drag Race, and you do it in perfect makeup, in a recognizable costume. I don't know how many of these people don't know that that's Valentino, the designer Valentino, and maybe just think that that's Liberace. But you know what? It's me. Valentina was funny enough to reference as it's me, Valentino, that it doesn't matter if people got it. The humor transcended the ability to get the joke. And that's one of those things that makes a joke great on multiple levels.
She was my sleeper hit this episode. I like Nelly was like perfection. People have talked about on Drag Race Italia. She was really, she's really funny in Italian, and so you could see someone struggling. She was the one who struggled best the most, and that happens. I don't. Kitty said something, and I don't know if it could really fully apply to people who aren't ESL. But when they were talking about like being worried and afraid of doing Snatch Game, Kitty was like, just don't think, just say what's off the top of your head, like just react to the moment, and that's great advice. But you speak English as your first language. You think in English. You can think of the response in English. These people don't. But to see Nelly overcome her own struggle and just kind of like dominate, I thought she was really absolutely hysterical. Pythia was personally my winner, but like my second winner was Nelly because Nelly's outfit was just so goddamn gorgeous. So I was like, give her the win. Like, she's doing so much better than people like these girls give her credit for.
Yeah, I was really, really impressed with how well she did. I was enjoying it so much. She is my sleeper fave. And I hope that this means that we're going to get to keep her around for many, 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 many more episodes.
I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but if Nihilinia won just to like fuck with the expectation, I'd be fine with it. It's one of those things where like, I love when you don't see the winner coming. That is such a good feeling. Because there's a lot of seasons of Project Runway where the winner is obviously the winner from the first episode and it ruins the show. There are plenty, and like I do just want to say, I maybe thought the underwear would have been a little bit more European on the boys here on Global All Stars. I was maybe expecting slightly thongier underwear from the pit crew, but that these are just barely beyond what I could get at my local Walmart's gayest underwear section. Very surprising. Just because Kevo brushed past it for a moment.
I fully forgot about this mini challenge. My favorite thing about this was pretending that pit crew member was taking actual photos. The funniest thing of him miming the camera was the funniest thing in the world.
It was Dahlia on Suburgatory basically going click, click, click,
click.
There is something about, and I do just want to say this, there is something about the fact that I think Maddie Morphosis, having had such an incredible career, and I'm such a big fan, why can I not remember her name? Victoria Scone, over in the UK, and even Gottmik, kind of representing these exceptions to the standard. When I think about the very stuffed brief, whether or not every guy stuffs or not, there is an expectation that you will have a brawny tube down there, and if not, it's not going to look right on Drag Race. And whether or not that's the case, I feel like there is something sort of about the way the pit crew represents the expectation of normalcy for the audience, that there is no one who bucks that trend this season. So whereas normally, or at least a few times, I can think of places where I'm like, this is so queer cis male oriented, and there's these moments that remind me, there's straight people, there are trans people, there are queer women who are playing this game. It's sort of weird that maybe there's no one this season that's really challenging that paradigm in the way I've come to appreciate from the fandom and the franchise.
Pythia is pretty open about being non-binary. I doubled up this week and finished up Canada season 2, so I am full of Pythia.
So much love, so much love.
So wonderful.
Such a queen.
Loved her finale dress. So I think there is a little bit of that, but I've actually. When I started my Drag Race journey and started with the first couple seasons, I was like, oh, these scantily clad men are going to go away, right? They're so unneeded in this show. And then they didn't. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm never like, woo, when the pit crew shows up. I find it extremely degrading.
I degrade myself regularly on the internet. It's something that I know Pythia has actually also expressed. If I post a video of me playing a song on guitar, I'm going to get 50 reactions in the first 24 hours. If I post a picture of myself covering my genitals with 2 Truly cans and says, "Who's truly ready for a drink?" I'm going to get 1,200 reactions in 36 minutes. And the reason is because there is an expectation to degrade yourself for this higher form of entertainment, I think, because there is something lascivious and lewd and attractive in that LA skank way about drag. One of the comments that nearly every girl made at Drag Race Live was, "I can see your balls, your shorts are too tight," was just like part of the joke course. But I think that sometimes because Ru is a part of an era of drag that is less thoughtful of the inclusion and a little bit more personalized to this is a queer safe space, things like the bulging boys are not going to go anywhere anytime soon, because to Ru, this is the same thing as a brick at Stonewall. That's what the dick is there for.
True, but when will we get the tit crew? When? When the tit crew?
To put it another way, I feel like what you're describing is even sort of, it's that Ru is sort of sticking to, and she always had this problem of being very stuck to the old ways, the old way of doing things, where that really was such an intrinsic part of it. But yeah, Tori's question is really fair. Where is the tit crew? I think perhaps over time, we will see these things change. I don't know when, and I don't know how fast. So,
I mean, I got 54% straighter looking at Miss Vanjie this weekend. If you have not checked it out, please check out our coverage of Drag Race Live that we ran this Saturday. On the Sunday, we saw it Saturday at AC. It was really amazing. It was at the Tropicana. I got alcohol poisoning. And one of the most fascinating things about the night was we couldn't use the actual audio from our videos because too much of the audio is filled with me screaming, "She's so hot!" the entire night. Me screaming that Roxy Andrews is the most beautiful woman to ever live. But part of why I'm bringing this up is like, we so want this female illusion. We want to see Miss Vanjie and Plastique in bras and panties jiggling on stage. Why does that have to represent the fun degradation? Because, like, look, I'm here to put my dick in something real tight and put it on display. I'm very happy to do so. So why are we asking women to do it as part of the quality of art? And we're saying that what the men do is degradation. I think part of what that creates is the further idea that it's okay that we degrade women outside of this sphere, because instead of creating an equality, we're just creating more flaws. To Tori's point, it made her feel excluded as somebody who appreciates the male body. So it really is important to think about the way that retribution is not the same thing as evolution. And I think that does ask us to think about the ways that Drag Race needs to grow up.
Yeah, I can understand this being the Bob's Bunnies when it started from Price is Right, but I think we've moved past this. Like when I was watching something, maybe a pit stop or something, and the girls, when the pit crew is the contestant, they're like, they talk? Wow, they talk. And I'm like, oh right, like they don't talk, they don't help, no, they're just models to exist.
Bryce has a degree in semiotics from Brown. I have made that whole thing up.
He has like an engineer. He has like
he's an aeronautica engineer.
Yeah.
Space.
I mean, like,
Bryce is going to space.
To me, it's always kind of been that pulling from, you go to the club and there's go-go boys and drag queens. And I get it. That's really fun and that's really great. But yeah, I mean, like a lot of the clubs that you go to now, There's drag queens. There's drag kings. The drag queens are not all female illusions. Some of them are horrible monsters that do a weird vomiting pink memory cats moment that I'm just staring at gobsmacked. Then there's go-go boys, and the go-go boys are not all cishet men. There's go-go, there's go-go girls as well. There's burlesque dancers, and the show is weird about, like, when it started, it was absolutely drag queens, as in boys dressing up as girls, and then go-go pit crew are the go-go boys, and that's that. And that got us all the way to Rue saying that she probably wouldn't allow a trans contestant because it's a female illusion show, and that person would have a leg up on the illusion, getting so much pushback from that the show really had to change its MO. And it's been great that it changed its MO, because it's actually, even now, kind of failing with criteria in terms of challenging the girls. But at the point where it was, if it didn't start saying you have to do others, you have to expand your skill set to not just be the most beautiful girl, but also to, like, create more art, to create, like, looks that are high concept. Like, she doesn't have to be the most beautiful girl if she has a head full of snakes. Like, you can give me special effects and it'll be amazing. And that has expanded to so many different kinds of queens and identities of contestant being queens. I think we could go even further and still not be at the, like, forefront avant-garde moment of the movement. The fact that the pit crew has not moved, like, an ounce is pretty wild given everything else. It just seems, I mean, like, even I, as somebody who pretty much, if you're like, what you pick immediately, I'm going to say, I want to look at cute boys. A hot babe on the pit crew, I think, would just be fun. Like, it would just be cool. I would love it just for the vibe and the energy.
Yeah.
Even just, like, every now and then to mix it up. Like, it doesn't have to be
like when they do, when 25 of them roll in for whatever the game is, and, like, and also not just, like, babes in a bra and panties, but, like, a hot butch woman coming in to be part of the pick. Like, there's so many, a femme male pit crew member. Like, give us the whole range, because they're all out there working. They're all, like, those identities are all at the clubs that people go to now. And those the people that go to those clubs are the people that watch Drag Race. So I don't know. It seems really like a no-brainer. And it's actually kind of wild that we're having this conversation for the first time right now, because we're at season 17 and 25 different franchises, and we really haven't done anything about this.
Well, I mean, it was Tori and Mai's big day yesterday, and we didn't do anything about it. I mean, Tori, why didn't we go pick up boys and girls on Bi Visibility Day?
Why didn't we? Well,
I heard all the farms sold out very early.
I
see. Here's the thing: if I bring home a boy or girl, I have to pay an extra $75 deposit a month for a pet. And, like, I don't have a yard. I have a yard, but it's not fenced in, and, like, if they could get out.
When I bring home
no
a
one
boy
would let me foster.
Or girl, hot older boyfriend just brands them right away, and they walk away with a stamp that says Nico's boy or girl, and it's a lot.
Like, you don't know if they're house trained. Like, you find them on the street, and you're like,
They could have fleas.
Oh,
they could have. I mean, they are part of the community. Feline HIV is a thing. So we have to understand where our fellow girls are in this world.
This Rachel Dratch moment that you've just given this show will forever be memorialized as a top 10.
Seriously. Tori Topper, nothing is ever going to beat that. Ben Affleck and Lindsay Lohan have both run off stage screaming, wow,
I hate you.
I would love to see play Batman.
You're all going to hell.
I feel like Batman singing Rumors would be a pretty Drag Race moment. So I actually, this brings me to a place that I do want to bring up. Number one, we are sitting pretty at a place with this season where I finally feel like we've got an unbelievable number of girls competing. The girls who went home first were not competing.
Right.
And they were not unbelievable. They were not unbelievable. I apologize. Every girl that was on this season was incredible. but production didn't understand how to facilitate this many girls showing they're awesome. Something that I think about is, it's so stupid to say, but like I think it was 2 weeks ago was the first time I didn't wear a hat on air. And I just got used to wearing hats on air and I didn't think about not. I feel like sometimes production has gotten so used to the Jinx or the Valentina shining through early on. I was sitting in TK's home and it seems like a trillion zillion years ago where Valentina walks into the workroom and the words that came out of my mouth were, "She's the most evil bitch to ever live. You cannot trust anything she says. She is pure evil." And I don't back down from a word I said, and I would marry her in an instant right now. Valentina is the love of my life. I don't know that I will ever love another woman the way I love Valentina in this world.
I don't think it ever helped that her confessional look that season was Piper Parabo's look from the film Slap Her, She's French. But continue.
But I think because Valentina so quickly, and Roxy so hard, and Sasha Colby their way through every moment. This show is so used to people who, Dela right off the bat, that when somebody takes that second or third season, we all saw in Lemon what Lemon winning saw in Lemon. There's that moment, I don't know why all of my favorite moments in the history of Drag Race are from Canada and Down Under. I feel so stupid. But that moment in Canada when Lemon says, "It was a really long time before I believed in myself," was one of the most I cried at night that night. I just watching Lemon realize what I took a long time to realize, which is you are fabulous. The problem is your critics, they're a mix of people who want to help you and people who just want to tear you down. And I will never forget, I was on a plane and telling this woman my life story, and she takes my hand and she goes, "I just want you to know, I work in Hollywood and you share too much. All of your power is in how fabulous and mysterious and incredible you are. And if no one knows what makes this engine work, baby, don't share your magic engine with them anymore. Keep it. Your engine, it's yours." And my dad is pretending to be asleep on this flight because I'm 19 years old. And he's like, "This woman's going to abduct my son." Anyway, she was very Greek. So the point of this story is that I think sometimes because certain girls have made the mold so clear and so die-cast and so powerful, many people think that when they are molten metal, their job is to fill this mold and become that coin. And the show makes it hard to be your own die-cast. But something that I feel very powerfully about is the girls that are remaining at this point in Global All-Stars each uniquely bear their own die-cast such that I recognize the value of their currency. I feel safe in recognizing how they all equate to one another, and I see how every one of these girls stands on this stage, and that production does as well. Because going back to our first point, the biggest problem with this season is the editing, not quite sure where it wants to end the story. I would love to know who each of you see as the front runner, and maybe who you see as the dark horse. My front runner, just to get things started, Pythia. It's so hard for me to pick between Pythia and Kween. That is just that's between left and right nut. That's not fair. But in this case, I guess right is winning. Hey, what's up, Pythia? And you're going to hang a little lower today because I pick you. You are my winning girl. But my dark horse, kind of not without a doubt, Nalinia, who is funny, beautiful, clever. Each one of her looks different. I don't think she recreates the same look week after week. And that is something that I have had a really hard time getting from Alyssa, one of the legends of the industry. Not by any means saying Alyssa is not talented, just that she hasn't shown the way I'd hoped. How do you guys feel? Who's your lead and who's your dark horse?
Real quick clarifier. Is this who we think is going to win or who we would want to win?
Tori, I really want to thank you for asking that question. I was going to leave it in the hands of each person, but I feel like being dictatorial, so I'm going to say who you want to win.
Okay. I
Am
I
up, girl.
first? Am I first because I asked a
ready?
question? Am I
Well,
first?
You are not just first, but you are best and the leader of the pack.
Vroom vroom.
I'm sorry. Was that best or breast? Can I get a?
Mama, you
It can be both things. Yeah.
It is
can be
bisexual. It is bisexual visibility week. I think you get to be whatever you want. If you wanted to
It's
be an
true.
IHOP, I would just ask you for pancakes.
You know I love
Can.
syrup. So, to me, so at this point, my top 3 that I would want to win are probably Pythia, Nehelania, and my good Judy, Kitty Scott Claus. And that's a personal preference on Kitty. I fully recognize that she really shouldn't be in that echelon, but she is for me, and that's fine. So I think the dark horse is Nehelania across the board. I think Pythia is doing the old we all can't sail through like Bianca does. And so those are mine. Who's up next?
I mean, I think we all see that Nelania right now is the dark horse. Like, she's just because she's so good. But she had some trouble, and somehow, like, it feels like a lot of the time. Yeah, there we go, Nelania. Thank you, B. Sometimes, like, the girls are like, no, you're not doing that great. And then, I mean, like, it's very much a dark horse story. So, like, that's her. But every week I see her doing something really fun and compelling. And the bigger thing is, like, especially with this show and the unique challenges that it presents, she's the one that I see overcoming those challenges the most. This week was the best example of that. We talk so much about how English and comedy are really difficult things, and she figured it out and just nailed it, and it's so cool. For who I want to win, it's tough, man. It also really is Nelly, but Queen and Pythia are also just fantastic. I don't know. I think the lenses are really focusing. I will say shout out to Tori for Kitty Scott Claus, because I do think she's doing really well in the Drag Race machine. It's not 100% for me, but I love a queen that I'm like, it's not always my stuff, but I can't deny that it's good and people are responding to it. People, like, I respect, are responding to it as well. Like, it's just not everything should be for everybody all the time. Right. And seeing winners who you can say, like, wouldn't have been my choice if I was somehow in RuPaul's shoes, but I get why it happened, is healthy for everybody, especially the Drag Race fandom, because I think people somehow want homogeneity and also to always be right. And those things just aren't possible when it comes to judging a competition like this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, statistically, gay people are wrong about everything. I mean, look at their track record. Things like dance music, reality TV. We've called it wrong every step of the way.
You know, you're right. At least 10 gays lose Drag Race every single year.
Tori, that was unnecessarily sharp. As a matter of fact, I'm going to charge you for the lacerations on my hand, because you cut me to pieces with that. Speaking of cutting and excellent with his hands, Engineer Jojo, I would love to know, I have to assume as an engineer, you have to be good with your hands or we're all in danger. Because obviously you're Bryce and you could be on the pit crew. But who is your number one and who is your number one dark horse? Obviously, dark horse not including Katy Perry, who is everybody's number two.
So I kind of just have to echo your sentiment that you said, Nico. My number one is Pythia, I think. Though I wouldn't say Pythia is specifically the front runner, I actually think that's Kitty Scott Claus. Kitty has found a way to make RuPaul wheeze like she's a car engine that needs to be started a couple times with anything that she says. And that's fine. She cracked the code. Ru is in love with her. And that's not Kitty's fault. Kitty's doing what Ru wants to do, and she's making her laugh, and she's, Ru's the one who's encouraging the behavior. And Kitty's just seeking that validation back. There's nothing wrong with that. She's playing the game. It's RuPaul's show. Kiss her ass all you want and get the fucking crown.
Yeah.
But for my money, my number one is Pythia. My number one dark horse is Nehelenia. She is just every week after week, I'm just kind of very excited to see what she's going to do. But my sleeper pick for someone who I thought I wasn't going to be in love with this season, and then has like, I've done a full 180, and I feel like I want to be her biggest fan, and I just want to support her. I love Vanity Vane. I love that girl so much. She's so, first off, her face could sink sail 1,000 ships. Right? Is that
yes, that's Helen.
Sink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she is so gorgeous. I love the way she does makeup. I think she is so, like, I feel it's, in a weird way, refreshing to see somebody be so open and honest and vulnerable about their own anxieties and their own things that are struggling to them. And I know that, like, last week she said, like, the inner saboteur, but even on her original season, people compiled it. She is somebody who suffers a lot from anxiety and struggles a lot with that. And it's just something I relate to and understand. And seeing someone, even in a competition, kind of be like, I know you're telling me this one thing, but no, this is actually genuinely how I feel. Something about it is just so refreshing. I only ever wish she can see her in the way that the people who love her see her as fans.
I love that.
Speaking of fans, if there is somebody I am a fan of on the internet, it is the guy next to me. When you're talking about people who get you to do things, I wouldn't have watched Drag Race if it weren't for the person next to me. So I would love to know, TK, sir, what is your opinion on Frontrunner and...
I already went, Baba.
Oh, gosh.
Go to the other side of you.
I wrote down...
It's literally right down the line.
I literally wrote down each person, and I am so sorry that I missed you. My deepest sympathy. It is horrible when I mess things up, and I am so sorry. Kevo!
I don't necessarily think that she is a super contender for the crown, but I do want to reinforce the sentiment that everyone else has, that I think Kitty Scott Claus, I think she at least has the makings to get to the top 3. Much like I don't necessarily foresee Alyssa being the winner, but it does feel like she kind of has to make it to the top 3, doesn't it? Like, it would be weird. At least top 5, maybe top 4. But yeah, also like everyone else, I love Pythia. I am really enjoying Nehelenia and glad that she's making it this far. So yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting top. I don't remember what next week's challenge is. Is another design challenge?
I think it's dance. Isn't it dance?
Oh.
I don't remember.
That's
Well, it was a mix of not remembering and also not necessarily understanding what they were indicating with the trailer itself.
Well,
oh no, it might be roast.
I don't think the challenge.
Yes, you were so right, Tori. It is the roast.
Oh yeah.
Well, it took you guys a whole lot less long to remember what the challenge was than me to remember who had not gone. So,
Wait. Did we all enjoy the Muppets?
I was going to say the last thing we need to specifically just talk about is this out of the box, out of the world, wacky last song ever on my bingo card to ever pick for a lip sync that is so perfect for a drag lip sync, because drag queens are Muppets. You should be a Muppet.
I would even place it as closer to the spoken word that Jinx and Monet did.
What's so funny too is we just made a reference to Phenomena last week because of Kitty Scott Claus's look of this. So we were just talking about Phenomena on this show. And, genuinely, we keep talking about the song choices that they make, and they are ones that are universal. They are ones where it's not really hard to get the lyrics. they're gibberish. So, you know.
And I can't think of anything I speak better than gibberish. So, blah, 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 blah. We have had an unbelievable hour of talking about Global All-Stars, some incredible performers, and overall, one of the things that the show has been so good at doing is trying to evolve to match the needs of the audience, even if it can't quite evolve the production of the show. The outcomes, still iffy, but each week, we are given an amazing number of queens performing their hearts out for us to their best ability. I do think earlier on in the seasons, you would occasionally find weeks where like there were girls that were like, no, I gave up this week. I can't do it anymore. And this is my swan song. I feel like every girl at this point on Global All-Stars is every time they give up, they come back like a phoenix.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more excited. Speaking... Oh, Kevy, of course.
No, I was going to say, remember toward the beginning of this summer when Eureka was like, I just don't feel like lip syncing, so don't make me.
Yeah.
Yep. At least this isn't that.
You know, Willie Nelson had a guitar that had this gigantic hole in it that he had strummed in, and he had broken huge chunks of the guitar out with his picks. And I feel like that guitar was less ready to give up than Eureka earlier this summer. So just to, you know, man on fire a little bit. But I am so grateful that every one of these girls is representing not just their country, their art, and who they are, but they're representing what I want to see in the world. That is such an incredible thing to do. And to do it by just being yourself, that's a gift. That is why I love following incredible drag queens like Demanda Martini, Luxury Temptation, and more. You guys should be giving up all of your time to these sorts of queens, not just the queens on TV. And of course, like I said, these sorts of queens, not just those two, but you should also be checking out all kinds of queens in your local area. Do yourself a favor and go to a local show. You know, we went to Drag Race Live this year and we saw Bianca Del Rio, but I saw the queens at my local gay campground 8 times last year. And that means I put just as many dollar bills in their pockets as I have put in the global queens dollars. And the reason that's important is because they're never going to make it to be global queens if you don't support them locally. So make sure that you are locally supporting your drag scene and more. And yeah, you know, I want to sign this off in a really positive way. Tori, what is your favorite thing from the entire summer of drag, whether it's global, Canada, or just what you're watching to catch up? And where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find me on the socials at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I. This summer has been, it's just so exciting to be into Drag Race like this. I think getting to watch great queens return so much this summer has been just so wonderful to realize live and to really feel like the excitement of oh, you know, what is Chanel gonna do and get ignored for this time? You know, how are we gonna, you know, what amazing $3 million outfit is Gottmik gonna pull out? You know, I think it's just the awe and the art, the inspiration to start to screw around with my own face a few times. I think is really, really where I'm finding my euphoria these days. So how about you, Jonah?
Well, I think this year of Drag Race shows has really kind of just cemented that this show is kind of just really kind of special and amazing. And I wouldn't be the fan of art I would be today had it not been for the show. But more importantly, it made me discover an art form that I absolutely love. And the show is amazing. We bless the show for everything that's done for us. But a lot of truly what you should be doing as a fan, go to your local shows, go to your local brunches, go to your local burlesque shows, go to your local numbers, do everything. Because those are the girls that truly need the support in the way that like they're broke, but give them the love, because you never know who's going to end up on the show. You never know who you're going to see. And it might be someone that's at your local bar right now. So if you can, go tip, support your local queer artists, do what you can to give back in that way. That's what I think. And I did the year of Drag Race shows has really kind of reinvigorated not only my love for Drag Race, but just my reinvigorated my love for, no, we got to go out and support queer art. As Megami said, this is the art that's worth protecting.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, as Megami once said, how drunk are you, sweetheart? You seem really drunk right now.
Well, that
was everyone.
That was Megami off the clock, so.
She was so incredibly kind to me as I fell on her. Kevo, as a human being that I have fallen on and has been so kind to me.
Bet. Oh, is there more?
Oh, that was the questions everyone else has answered.
No, I didn't know if there was more. Okay, no, that's fine.
I don't know who B is, but if I can just say B, you're an A in our book.
For real. I'm really glad, just to reinforce what Jonas said at the very end there, hugely make sure you're supporting your local artists, because that's how your local artists become the artists that are featured on a show like this and get to be bigger and brighter. Was it last season or the one before where it was like all Connecticut queens, and that was so random? But that can happen to your area if you are showing support. So that was really cool. Support them. Support us. Support all small artists, because we're working real hard. And this year of, was it about the drag performances we've seen, or just this year of Drag Race in general?
I mean, it's whatever makes your heart happy. So with drag.
Sure. Just this year in general, sure, has really made me enjoy being an artist and enjoy seeing live art. I want us to get out seeing stage shows more and enjoying things like that more, because it's good stuff. The world isn't necessarily completely over COVID, but we're trying to endure, and we're trying to normalize a little bit. And that's good. And you can find me online at Kevoreally. That's KEVOREALLY.
I would really love to see an entire Fraggle-based drag show called Faggle Rock. That would be absolutely Jim Henson level of production.
They could, even if it wasn't that name, do a kids drag Fraggle Rock. They had Adam Lambert on this past season of Fraggle Rock.
That's a Fraggle right there.
Drag queen sorcerer Fraggle, and he was great. So they love queer stuff. Go watch the new Fraggle Rock on Apple TV if you can.
What can you want from him? And speaking of people
radishes
you could not want more from, because they are so in fact rad-ish. TK, what is, I swear to God you have not gone this time. What is your drag moment of the summer, and where can everybody find you if they are hoping to find you on the internet?
It was that lady who did the cat routine at Industry Bar during FlameCon. That was absolutely wild. Just like, I was not prepared at all for vomiting cat drag, but really game changer, life changer. Let's see more of that in 2025. And if I could just build on what Jonah said, be sure to get in fights and be mean with your local drag queens too. They're probably gigantic cunts, and if they are, they probably need your help developing their reads. You are probably a little Muppet person and can help them out a lot. There's all kinds of fun that can be had. You never know who's going to get big one day, and you're going to wish you said that you'd fought Mimi first rather than just letting her pick you up at Outright in 2001. Jesus, I'm really old. Be mean to local drag queens. Don't bully them, but, fellow gay, fight your fellow gays. It's gonna make them stronger in the long run.
I love how much Muppets are getting name dropped today because it's Jim Henson's birthday.
Yay!
Happy birthday, Jim Henson. So Nico, answer your own question.
Well, as your local drag king, don't fight me. I will beat you like I'm on trend. Number 2, I'm joking. I will not beat you like I'm on trend. I don't have the rage in me. I get so sleepy by 6 p.m. No, seriously. People are like, "You want to fight, bro?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, are you flirting with me? Or are you actually trying to attack me?" I don't have the energy for this.
For
Just
either.
make me French toast.
Ooh.
Ooh.
My drag moment of the summer was being asked by 10 Yards Productions to get to make my drag debut along some of the finest queens in the Brooklyn area. I was given an opportunity to make my drag king debut in the same place that helped Megami build up her career. And then I drunkenly fell on her later that summer. So I feel like it's only a matter of time before I drunkenly fall on RuPaul, right?
That's going to be a lot harder to do, but I believe in you.
More than anything,
You're so stupid.
no, I am. My drag career is so stupid. I have been so lucky to contribute to the success of a number of queens, whether it's original music or it is arrangements or just getting to put together some audio packages for some people. You can check that out later in 2025. Keep an eye out in January for some ball scene stuff. But if you're keeping a clear eye out, you guys can see the fact that 2024 meant that drag queens trusted me with their music. And that means that 2025 is going to be filled with a few more surprises for me than you're expecting. And if it hadn't been for Drag Race giving me the opportunity to understand the art form, I don't know that I would have been able to produce so much this year. So 2024 has accidentally become the year of Nico behind the scenes and on stage, and I'm really grateful. That all said, the real heroes are the people who inspired me. Are the Chanels who have been doing it for 100 years, and the Sugars and Spices who showed me that it's okay to be doing it for 3 years and still really want to be proud of yourself. And I'm proud of myself. And you know who I'm really proud of? I'm proud of these clowns, because I think a year ago we decided to start covering Drag Race with roughly the finale of 15. So I guess it's 18 months ago. And everybody has come up to meet the bar. So until we next go to the bar to check out a drag show, do us a favor, check out everything we're doing here, whether it's me, Nico Action, NICOACTION, or Nico Action Music, NICOACTION, MUSIC. Queens, I'm looking right at you. Check out the music page. You want to. But everybody else, it turns out I can't wink. Check out the slutty flexing pics at Nico Action, NICOACTION. Check out the show at X is for Show, X is for Podcast, and HTML. If you want to check out some amazing comic content tomorrow, me and the guy next to me and the guy right below us are going to be talking about some amazing comic content at X is for Show, and it will be reposted at X is for Podcast. If you want to know more about Daredevil and all of his amazing antics, check out the Billy Club. And if you want to know more about everything we do here, you can find that at this channel here on YouTube. But 3 things you guys can do for us: like, comment, and subscribe. Everybody asks for that. But 3 things you guys can do for yourselves that nobody asks for. Number 1, stay safe. Number 2, be brave. And number 3, evolve daily, because who you were yesterday, amazing. Who you are today, incredible. But who you are tomorrow, that's our dream, and we can't wait to see you. So until then, make sure you get there, and we'll see you.
Bye.